In this video, I'm going to continue to build and build and build on the pattern making tool by discussing how to introduce background colors and to also implement layered prints and patterns if you'd like to utilize that for your project. To get started, I've gone back to an earlier rendition of a print, and I've done this because the print that I used in the last video was overlapping and you couldn't see any space between your icons. And I've gone back to this print to showcase that this print is transparent. Okay, you're going to see that obviously there's no white in this pattern as I overlap into the pasteboard area. So I need to introduce color here, particularly if white is not one of your background or one of your 6 colors, then you should not have white used as a background, right? And then also, most of you are going to want to insert more personality into your print. So again, how do you use a background color? Now, the best way to do this is to open up your appearance panel. And your appearance panel, if memory serves, is the little sun. I was correct. I wasn't sure if I knew the icon. And when you open up your appearance panel, you're going to see any information that is associated with the shape. Okay, so the shape in this instance is the square that contains my print. You'll see that there is no stroke associated with it, so there's no stroke around it, but it does have a fill. And again, this fill is my print. I can add additional fill layers by coming down to the bottom of my appearance panel. And you'll see if I just hover, it says add new fill. I'll go ahead and click that, yep. And you'll see that it defaults to adding the exact same fill that I already had present. And so I'm going to go ahead and just drag this down so my fills are closer together. And of course, I'm going to want my print on top. So I'm going to leave that as a print, and I'm going to come down to this one. And I'll come in and just find a color. Okay, in this instance, I'm not working with 6 colors like you guys are. So I'm just going to pick a color to place in the background. And let's see. That may not be distinct enough, and it's definitely not changing because the shape is not active. So make it active. I need to add a fill again. All right, I'm going to put myself on that background fill, and I'll choose a color. And I can play with those until I find something that I like. I can also edit this. So if I don't like this bright pink, maybe I want to take it to like a light pink. I can do that, maybe even lighter. Okay. And now you can see that I have 2 fills that represent the print and the fill behind it. And even as I look at that, I don't like it. Maybe I'll go contrasting. Okay, so I like this charcoal color. All right, perfect. All right, so this might be one option for your pattern and background color, okay? I am going to actually copy and paste this, copy paste with Command C, Command V, and this time I'm gonna go ahead and change my fill to something different. So maybe I'll go ahead and use a really light gray this time. And again, if you've got 2 colorways, you need to make sure you're changing your background in both instances. So maybe, this is one option. Maybe I want to go with something a little bit more monochromatic like this. So again, you're going to be doing this twice for both of your colorways. But what else can I do with this? Is there anything else fun and inventive that I have access to? And the answer, of course, is yes. And so what we'll do in this instance is I'm going to go ahead and add another fill. Okay, so now I have my print, I have my background color, which I need, but let's do something with what's here in the middle. Okay, and what you've probably seen on some of the example boards is the introduction of things like stripes and polka dots and just really simplistic graphic patterns. And you can access that. Again, I'm using the middle fill, and I'm coming over here to the library, and I'm going to go to patterns. Okay, and you're going to see a number of choices here. The only ones that I will allow you to use are the basic graphics. And so you can come in and add things like lines and dots and even some of these textures. So I'll start with lines. Okay, and it's going to open up in a separate dialog box. And I can go ahead and play with these for a moment, figure out which stripe I really like. And most of these have to do with the weight of the stroke lines in the stripe and then the distance between them. And so I'm thinking kind of like that one actually the most, okay? And so once I figure out which pattern I like, I can edit it in any way I want to. So I can approach it just like any other pattern and work through the pattern editing process. So what I'll do here is I will come up while this is selected and I'm on this fill. Okay, again, I need to make sure I'm on the right fill layer. I'm going to come up to Object, Pattern and Edit, and it's going to put me in pattern editing mode for the stripe. And so I could come in and say, for instance, maybe black is not one of my 6 colors, so I need to change it to something that is within my color story. And so I'm just going to pick a color since I don't actually have a color story that I'm working from. And maybe I'll just make it something obnoxious like this. And I'll go ahead and hit done to accept it. And you'll see, voila, I now have that pattern changed. But again, maybe, I don't like the direction of the stripe. Okay, same thing. I'm going to go to Appearance, make sure I'm on the right fill layer. Make sure the shape is active, actually. I'm sorry, first, and then the fill layer. And then I can use the same techniques. I can come in and I could scale the print. I could rotate it, anything that makes sense for the work that you're doing. In this instance, I'm going to rotate. And of course, I'm going to make sure that Transform Objects is turned off. And you'll see that I can rotate the print. Okay, so maybe I want the stripe to be diagonal because the icons within it are running in these sort of rows, and so I want something that's going in a contrasting direction. That's something that I can do. Okay. All right, let's run through maybe another option. Turn that off. Go ahead and select, copy, paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this middle fill layer, and I'll just add another one. And this time, rather than using stripes, I could come in, let's try a different graphic pattern. Maybe I'll look at the textures. Okay, you see what these look like. I get sort of, I love this one because it looks a little bit like an animal dot sort of print. Not super busy, but it definitely adds some texture. So that's something that you might utilize. And again, same thing. If I wanted to recolor this, I would go through the same process that I used for the stripes. Okay? And I totally lied. I'm going to go ahead and do one more. Okay? And this time, again, I'm going to hide that fill layer. I'm going to add a new one. And this time, I'm actually going to use the print that I created the first time. Okay, so I'm using the original print, and it's the same fill. And what I'm going to do, because it's already rotating, because the print, you'll see here, the stripe was rotated earlier, so it's rotating it in a similar fashion. What I could do with this fill layer is maybe I'll go ahead and size this one down. I'll go ahead and scale it really, really differently from the print that's up on top. Maybe I'll make this one really small. And so again, there's just lots of ways to add visual interest here. So now I've got my print in one way, okay, small in the back, adding texture. And then I've got the larger print up on top, repeating in a different direction, okay? So again, lots of ways to continue to edit your prints, make them your own. I really hope that you'll take the time to go further than just simply recoloring your icon and using a basic print, but going deeper, using simple shapes, simple patterns, and layering techniques to add as much interest as you can to your patterns.